two unstoppable forces, one epic showdown. Who will emerge victorious? Welcome to Timeless Battles, where we pit legends against legends in the ultimate test of power, skill, and will. Today, we're diving into an epic clash between the unstoppable Juggernaut and the incredible Hulk. Get ready for action, destruction, and a battle that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Who will stand tall when the dust settles? Stick around to find out. If you love legendary matchups and epic storytelling, smash that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and hit subscribe so you never miss another timeless battle. Your support helps keep the action coming. Cain Marko was a man who once believed in second chances. His life had been a series of missteps, each one worse than the last. Betrayal, failure, and anger followed him like shadows, shaping a path of destruction that seemed to lead nowhere. But then he founded the Gem of Sidorak. The glowing crimson relic spoke to him, its energy seeping into his very soul and granting him what he had always craved: power. The transformation was immediate. Gone was the man shackled by doubt and insecurity. In his place stood a force of nature, the Juggernaut. With each step, Cain Marko could feel the world beneath him submitting to his will. Brick and mortar crumbled under his feet. He was no longer a man, he was a living weapon, destined to conquer. But this newfound might came with an insatiable hunger. The gem whispered promises of dominance, urging him to prove himself by tearing down the edifices of civilization. Cities would fall, and the world would remember his name. Far from the chaos Cain was unleashing, Bruce Banner was a man fighting a battle of his own. Inside a stark, metallic lab deep in the New Mexico desert, Banner stood over a table cluttered with vials of glowing green liquid. His latest attempt at controlling the Hulk sat before him, but the equation didn't feel right. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he muttered calculations under his breath. The Hulk's shadow loomed over every aspect of his life. Banner had spent years trying to tame the beast within, to find peace, but every effort only seemed to deepen the chasm between him and normalcy. The news reports were background noise at first, until a single name pierced through his focus: Juggernaut. Banner turned to the television, his stomach sinking as he saw the path of destruction carving its way toward Seattle. Entire towns erased in hours, families displaced, the casualties climbing. "This isn't just some rampaging thug," said the anchor, her voice trembling. "This is an unstoppable force." Banner's hands clenched the edge of the table. The world didn't need Bruce Banner, it needed the Hulk. Cain Marko strode through a small town nestled in Washington's Green Hills. Its streets were quiet, the townsfolk long gone after hearing the stories of his destruction. He relished the silence. It felt like the world itself was holding its breath in fear of him. "Cowards," Cain muttered, his voice a low rumble. He raised a massive fist and drove it into the side of a diner. The building collapsed instantly, its steel and glass raining down in a cacophony of destruction. He continued down the main road, his every step sending tremors through the ground. A small group of National Guardsmen appeared at the end of the street, their weapons trained on him. They shouted orders, their voices laced with desperation. Juggernaut smirked. "You think bullets can stop me?" The first shot rang out, followed by a hail of gunfire. The bullets bounced off his crimson armor like raindrops, leaving him unscathed. With a single leap, Juggernaut closed the distance and landed among the soldiers, scattering them like leaves. He swung a massive arm, sending vehicles and men flying in all directions. "Pathetic," he muttered as he continued on his way. His destination was clear now: Seattle. A major city teeming with life. The perfect place to prove his dominance. Inside the lab, Bruce Banner paced furiously, the glow of his monitors casting eerie shadows on the walls. Betty Ross watched him, her arms crossed, her expression a mixture of concern and determination. "You can't stay here, Bruce," she said firmly. "This isn't a problem that will go away if you ignore it." Banner stopped and turned to her, his face etched with worry. "You think I don't know that? But every time the Hulk comes out, people get hurt. What if I'm worse than him? Worse than the Juggernaut?" Betty shot back. "You've saved more lives than you've taken, Bruce. You know that. And right now, people need you." Banner hesitated. Deep down, he knew she was right, but the weight of his responsibility felt unbearable. With a trembling hand, he activated the device on his wrist, a gamma regulator he had designed to monitor his transformations. "If I do this," he said softly, "there's no turning back." Betty stepped closer, placing a hand on his arm. "There never was, Bruce." With a deep breath, Banner closed his eyes and let the rage consume him. His body began to shift, muscles bulging, skin turning green. The walls of the lab shook as the Hulk emerged, roaring with a fury that echoed across the desert. The streets of Seattle were eerily quiet as Juggernaut approached. His massive form loomed over the cityscape, a crimson titan against the skyline. Civilians peered out from their windows, too terrified to leave, but too curious to look away. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the sky. Before anyone could react, a deafening crash shook the ground. Hulk landed in the middle of the street, his green form towering as he straightened and locked eyes with Juggernaut. "Big man," Juggernaut said, a grin spreading across his face. "You must be the welcome committee." "Hulk not welcome you," the green titan growled. "Hulk smash you." Without another word, Hulk charged. Their collision was like a thunderclap, the force of it sending shockwaves through the city. Buildings swayed, car alarms blared, and the ground cracked beneath their feet. Juggernaut laughed as he caught Hulk's fist mid-swing. "You've got power, I'll give you that, but you're not unstoppable." Hulk roared in defiance, twisting his body and hurling Juggernaut into the side of a skyscraper. The building shuddered as debris rained down, but Juggernaut emerged unscathed, brushing off the dust. "That all you got, big guy?" he taunted. Hulk didn't respond with words, he responded with action. With a mighty leap, he closed the distance and delivered a thunderous punch that sent Juggernaut skidding back. The two titans clashed again and again, their blows shaking the city to its core. The streets of Seattle became a battlefield. With each clash, Hulk and Juggernaut turned the cityscape into a chaotic wasteland. Skyscrapers groaned under the pressure of their attacks, and the ground seemed to ripple like water beneath their titanic weight. Juggernaut swung a lamppost like a club, aiming for Hulk's head. The green titan caught it mid-swing and snapped it in half, as though it were a twig. With a feral roar, Hulk leaped onto Juggernaut, grabbing him by the shoulders and slamming him into the pavement. "Stay down," Hulk growled, his fists raining down like meteors. But Juggernaut's laughter cut through the noise. "Nice try, big guy, but you can't break me." With a surge of strength, Juggernaut pushed Hulk off and retaliated with a bone-crushing punch to the chest, sending him crashing through a row of parked cars. The vehicles crumpled like tin cans under Hulk's weight, but he rose again, angrier than before. "You think Hulk's scared?" he roared, his muscles bulging. "Hulk's scared of nothing." The fight raged on, spilling from the downtown core to Seattle's iconic waterfront. The Space Needle stood tall in the distance, its silhouette framed by the chaos below. Crowds of terrified onlookers gathered at a safe distance, their phones capturing the clash of these titans. "Hulk, watch out!" shouted a voice from the crowd. A massive piece of debris, a steel girder ripped from a nearby building, was hurtling toward him. Hulk turned just in time to catch it, his green hands gripping the beam as it bent under his strength. He hurled it back at Juggernaut, the makeshift missile striking him with a deafening clang. Juggernaut staggered but didn't fall. "You'll have to do better than that." Hulk clenched his fists, his emerald form shimmering with raw energy. "Hulk strongest there is." Their clash sent shockwaves rippling through the waterfront. The pier splintered under their weight, and the waters of Puget Sound churned violently. Juggernaut grabbed a cargo container from a nearby shipyard and swung it like a battering ram, but Hulk dodged with surprising agility, landing a devastating uppercut that sent Juggernaut flying into the water. For a moment, the city held its breath. The water was eerily still. But then, with a colossal splash, Juggernaut erupted from the depths, his armor gleaming under the streetlights. "You just made me mad," He bellowed, charging at Hulk with renewed fury. Hulk braced himself, planting his feet as Juggernaut bore down on him. The collision was catastrophic. The ground beneath them buckled, sending cracks spiderwebbing across the waterfront. Buildings toppled as the shockwave rippled outward. But something was different now. Hulk wasn't just fighting with brute strength, he was fighting smart. He began to time his attacks, exploiting the gaps in Juggernaut's relentless charges. Each time Juggernaut missed, Hulk landed a counterstrike, his blows growing more precise and devastating. "You slow, Metal Man!" Hulk taunted, dodging another charge. "Hulk, too fast for you!" Juggernaut roared in frustration, swinging wildly. His movements became erratic, his confidence wavering as Hulk continued to outmaneuver him. The final stage of their battle unfolded in the shadow of the Space Needle. The iconic tower trembled as the two titans clashed beneath it, their roars echoing into the night. Hulk's anger had reached its peak, his green form pulsating with raw power. Juggernaut charged again, his footsteps shaking the ground. But this time, Hulk didn't move. He planted his feet and met the charge head-on, grabbing Juggernaut by the shoulders. The impact was monumental, but Hulk held his ground, stopping the unstoppable force in its tracks. Juggernaut's eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible!" Hulk's strongest, the green giant roared, lifting Juggernaut off the ground. With a tremendous heave, Hulk hurled him into the base of the Space Needle. The structure groaned as the force of the impact sent cracks spidering up its length. Juggernaut struggled to rise, but Hulk was already upon him. With one final, earth-shattering punch, Hulk drove his fist into Juggernaut's unprotected face. The ground erupted beneath them as the blow landed, and Juggernaut collapsed motionless. The city was in ruins, but the battle was over. Hulk stood over Juggernaut's defeated form, his chest heaving as he surveyed the destruction. Slowly, the crowd began to cheer, their voices rising in a chorus of gratitude and relief. "Hulk saved us," a child shouted, breaking the silence. Hulk looked at the boy, his fierce expression softening for a moment. Then, without a word, he turned and leaped into the night, disappearing into the horizon. As dawn broke over the battered city, Bruce Banner emerged from the shadows, his human form restored. He walked among the rubble, his heart heavy with the weight of what had been lost and what had been saved. For now, the world was safe, and though Banner knew the Hulk's battles were far from over, he also knew that, in this moment, the Green Giant had proven his worth. Hulk was not just the strongest, he was a hero,